Alabama ranked as one of the best teams according to the computers, and that's something that we've kind of enjoyed with our artificial intelligence before this show started, and we'll talk about that as the show starts today. This is Elephant in the Room, brought to you by our friends at Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Take advantage of Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. It's the Augusta you can play. We were just there last week. The Azaleas, the Oaks, amazing golf courses. Philip M. Steakhouse. Well, maybe we'll get into that as well. But thank you guys for being here. That's Jay Coker. Here's his open. All right, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. National championship quarterback Jake Coker, at least his neck right now.
Hey, now I got this Chat GPT. I'm trying to. I'm seeing what's going to be the final top 25 of 2026.
You're falling in love with artificial intelligence, huh?
Yeah, it'll probably be bribing me here in a few days.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things we wanted to talk about today was the College Football Power Index. ESPN puts it out, and that's basically computer calculations of the best teams in the country, right? And 3 SEC teams are at the top. Texas is number 1. Georgia is number 2. And Alabama is number 3, ahead of Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami, Tennessee, and Clemson. Pretty crazy, huh? Again, Bama at number 3, and basically what this is it's a predictive rating system that estimates each football team's strength in points per game relative to the national average, offense, defense, special teams. And they make adjustments for starters loss, recruiting talent, and other personnel challenges, right? So Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, 9-4 last year. Obviously, Jalen Milroe is gone. Ty Simpson's taken over. Ryan Grubb there. But I was kind of shocked by that. I mean, again, and the list looks like this: Texas, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami, Tennessee, Clemson, and then you get into a bunch of other schools. But still, for Bama to be number 3, the computers must like the roster pretty good.
Well, I mean, something we've talked about as soon as the season ended, or really in the last few weeks. Heck, man, we haven't lost. We've lost some guys. Don't get me wrong, but to me, there's no glaring holes on this team going into next season, and you've got, the roster, or at least the coaching staff that Kalen DeBoer wanted all along. He finally got his guys in place, and on top of that, you've got Nick Sheridan, who's had a year as an OC, which, I mean, that experience alone gives him a lot more ability as a coach, just based on experience, knowing kind of what to look for to be that leader. Gives him a little extra voice to get into Ryan Grubb's ear and help him out in in-game situations. And the only thing, it's funny. I saw an article today. Anonymous SEC coach provides some insight into Alabama football, and the only thing he had to say was, well, they got a question at quarterback. I mean, I don't know who this anonymous coach is, but it's so weird when Alabama goes into a season where you've got a first-year quarterback. Those tend to be the best seasons for some reason. I think AJ's first year won a national championship. Greg's first year won a national championship. We were on the verge with Blake and played a really good Ohio State team. 1-1 my year, and then Jalen almost won one, but Tua then wins one. it's sometimes it tends to work out. Sometimes I think that allows teams to grow together and really get behind a new quarterback, support them, on and off the field. And I think you get teams that grow a lot closer because, that's kind of the scenario going into that year. Everybody feels like it's them against the world.
Do you think that part of it too is when you have a new quarterback, the game plan isn't so reliant on one guy to have to execute it? Like I feel like a lot of times when we get comfortable with a star quarterback, so much of the offense goes through Bryce Young or goes through Tua, goes through you or whoever else is the quarterback. And maybe you feel comfortable with the playbook, but it feels like it's more of a team effort when a quarterback has his first year because everybody kind of feels like they don't want to put as much on that guy.
I don't know. I mean, I look at Bryce when he was playing, should have won a national championship if it's not for J-Mo and John Mechie going down. I mean, I have a hard time believing that doesn't culminate into a national championship. I believe that was his last year at Alabama. And when you've got a guy as dynamic as Bryce, I mean, I think he's the best quarterback that's ever played at Alabama.
Right.
I mean, even when a play breaks down and things aren't going well, Bryce Young at Alabama was the most dynamic player I feel like I've seen, in terms of an entire package, mentally, physically. I mean, of course, I guess you could say maybe he could have been bigger, but, I mean, he fully maximized his capabilities with what he had to a level that I hadn't seen in college football before. I mean, I've seen other guys that are, I talk about Cam Newton all the time, but in terms of an Alabama uniform, I don't think I've seen a guy that dynamic. And again, if it's not for injuries in that national championship, I mean, you see Georgia just completely, they changed what they were doing on defense because they knew, that there was a bunch of young receivers out there, made some drop balls, guys not really where they're supposed to be. And then you get in that goal line situation and a lot of those goal line looks are plays that you've thrown in over bowl practice, and those twos probably haven't gotten the reps that the ones have gotten. And honestly, they probably weren't as focused, during those reps, as focused as those ones were. So, I mean, it's a lot to throw at a bunch of young guys, and I think they win that year. I mean, Mac Jones, man, that guy, I think him getting a couple starts the year before he was truly named the starter, that Auburn game, I mean, I think that Auburn game probably turns into a win. We beat Michigan right after in dominant fashion. I think we win that Iron Bowl and probably go to the playoff if I remember correctly. Didn't that loss to Auburn kick us out of the playoff that year?
Yeah.
In 2019.
Yes.
I mean, I think he played about as good as a game as you could ever ask for a guy that's never started before, and then he's all of a sudden starting against Auburn in the Iron Bowl with a playoff berth on the line. The interception to Najee, just trying to get the ball out, and then I know he threw another interception. I think went back for a pick six, but I think he gained a lot of knowledge. Just those two starts alone, two biggest starts of that season, bowl game and Auburn, probably prepared him. But going to that 2020 season, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy pick up an offense and run it so smoothly or as smoothly as he did back in 2020. It's kind of weird, and I think there's definitely an argument there. I think when the quarterback knows he's got the entire coaching staff behind him, that really, to me, elevates the play because you're not looking over your shoulder. You're not worried about anything. It's one unit on the same page, getting after one goal, and everybody understands who the leader is, what a good game looks like, what a good practice looks like. Ideally you want a lot on the quarterback, and if you can't put a lot on the quarterback, then you better have a lot of talent behind him, that can win in a lot of different ways. So ultimately, to me, it all comes down to the guys you got on the field outside of the quarterback.
Yeah.
If you're putting a ton on him, then that, usually a lot of times that means you may not have a whole lot of confidence in certain areas of your football team, and you got to rely on that quarterback to get you out of a lot of different scenarios. So I don't know. The more you put on your quarterback usually tends to mean the better quarterback you got.
This predictor has Alabama as a 66% chance to make the playoff and a 10% chance to win the national championship. 20% to make the national championship. How about that? 17 to win the SEC. So they got Bama's got more of a chance to make the national championship game than to win the SEC. I guess that really tells you kind of how good the conference is.
Yeah. Winning the SEC's sometimes I'll tell you, winning the SEC in some cases can be harder than winning that national championship.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to beat the right guys, and man, if you got a tough draw, kind of like Georgia last year, their draw in the SEC, that was a unbelievable gauntlet. In fact, they, made it as far as they did. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. So do you take any, is there anything to take away from this stuff? Obviously you'd rather be up than down, right? It would suck to look at it and be like, hey, we got like a 1% chance, because teams that have a team that's on this list, let me just put it up on the screen so you guys can watch it too. But the teams that are on this list, one of these teams at the top is going to win the national championship. I guarantee it, right? Like one of these top teams, and I'm going to make the list a lot smaller than it is, because I think that it'll be one of these teams up here. Texas, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Oregon, and that's it. I don't think Miami's going to win it. Tennessee's going to win it. Clemson could win it, right? Because they have, but it'll be a team on this list most likely that'll win a national championship.
I don't think Clemson's getting it done. I don't think Penn State's getting it done. Oregon, I don't know who their next quarterback is, and Notre Dame's got to win one before I ever say I'll have confidence in them getting it done.
Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be some team down this list, though. You're not going to have Oklahoma, Michigan. These are just not going to win it.
Yeah,
it's going to be the elite teams at the top, right here.
Texas. This is the first year I might say Texas is. This may be the first year I think Texas could be my favorite. They got Arch coming in. They're finally getting to that point where they're consistently in that top conversation, kind of a playoff favorite. Seems like the culture there has changed a little bit, and over the last 5 years, because you remember, just a few years ago when they almost beat Alabama at Texas, we still kind of looked at Texas like they were a little brother, on
right.
a different level. And ever since that game, they've kind of turned it around. Steve Sarkisian's turned it around. He's made them somebody that is actually respectable in the conversation again. And, had a good showing a decent showing in the playoff last year. Right on the verge of getting there. Kind of reminds me of that, 2009, 2008 Alabama team lost to Florida in the
Right.
SEC championship. And that's kind of how I feel about Texas right now. I'm never going to say there's a team on the verge of being a Nick Saban era program, but a program that's definitely in that conversation in the top 2 to 3. And I think that's where Texas is now.
Yep. Here's something else I want to show you guys.
Arch, to me, Arch showed up. The timing for Arch is perfect there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look, he's elite, right? I mean, no doubt about it. Here's another list, though. And if this list is accurate, Bama, I think Bama, if this is right, and this is a Pro Football Focus ranking list, best offensive lines in the country. There it is. Bama number 1. And Georgia number 2, LSU number 3, Texas number 4. If Bama's number 1, they're making the playoff. If their offensive line it lives up to that standard, you had a great offensive line. 2020, they had a great offensive line. But you look back at all those national championship teams, the lines were solid, man. And it feels like over the last few years, the offensive line could have been a little bit better for Alabama. Some good players, but definitely had some games where they didn't do their best. And this year, Jaden Roberts is returning, hopefully healthy. You got Parker Brailsford at center. You got a lot of experience on the Bama offensive line.
That's an area that Kalen DeBoer has really focused on, right? I mean, we've been talking about who he's been targeting and recruiting, and you can tell where his mindset is. Offensive line is the most important unit on the field, offense or defense. I mean, if you don't have a good offensive line, you're done. There's nothing you can do about it. And I think, when Washington played Michigan in the national championship, and that was 2 years ago. I feel like I remember one of my main thoughts in that game being that offensive line for Washington just could not. They just looked like they were out of place against Michigan physically, mentally. Like they looked like, if I remember right, I feel like that was one of my key takeaways. And to me, I imagine Kalen DeBoer probably, looked at that game and was like, that'll never happen to me again. If I'm going to win, I've got to have the guys up front to move and block and, have size, have athleticism to be able to block, the Michigans, Alabamas, Georgias. You cannot have a weak offensive line and be consistent enough to beat those elite teams. And so when you look at who he's recruiting, what he's doing, the offensive line that we have now, he's got Parker Brailsford in there, guy that has followed him from Washington, and a guy that knows the system, gets the guys in the right spot, great leader. You got to think that we're turning in the right direction up front on offense.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But going into this year, having watched last year, and don't get me wrong, you lose to Vanderbilt, have the bad look against Oklahoma there at the end of the year. Those aren't things that make you feel good, but overall, you see the potential that Alabama has,
right,
with guys that Kalen DeBoer did not recruit. And look, he picked up a great roster. There's no doubt about it. But guys that he has not known, thrown into the fire, coming up with a plan to win with brand new personnel. I really love, given that there are no glaring holes on offense or on our team as a whole. You gotta really like or feel good about where we're headed next year. I mean, my hopes are up. I'm taking the over on 9 wins because I believe that's where Vegas put it again this year. 9.5.
Yeah. You could get it at 8.5 at some books.
Yeah. I gotta feel like I'm taking the over on that.
What of the games this year? I was just looking at the schedule.
I was bringing that up too.
I'll pop it up here for you. Hold on. Oh, I already know the answer to this. I'm going to ask you anyway, but I mean, this is a stupid question. What game are you most excited for? That's look. I know when we're calling one the Coker Bowl. I mean, I'm guessing that's probably the one you're going to be the most excited about.
That's going to be a fun one to go to. There's no doubt about it. Let's see.
Are you wanting to do the tailgate show from Tallahassee?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Okay. Where would we do it there? I mean,
let me tell you, golly, man, that is a gauntlet right there. And I tell you the game that to me stands out the most and may not be the most, may not look like the prettiest matchup, but one of the hardest games we're going to have this year is at South Carolina.
Oh, I know. I'm with you. They always give us trouble, man.
Well, and was it Williams-Brice? Is that right?
Yeah.
That stadium. I mean, I've never been there, but on TV, that looks like one of the most chaotic stadiums you could play in the SEC.
And they play that the rooster crowing all the time.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that.
Hell, they almost got us last year in Tuscaloosa.
I know.
It is going to be a wild scene in Columbia next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you prefer a day game or a night game?
Away, my sweet spot, I felt like 4 o'clock was the best time.
Yeah.
That was, it wasn't too early, wasn't too late, kind of right there in that, 2:30, 4 o'clock, right around there.
Yeah.
2:30 sometimes early in the season can be pretty hot. That's October 25th. South Carolina ought to be a little cooler up there, October 25th, I'd think.
The home schedule.
And right now I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about Ryan Williams on Gruden's podcast talking about taking a hammer to an ant, talking about Vandy. I mean, I'm seeing that one too. I'm like, I hope that is a 55-0 win right there.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
We were up there in Nashville. And on this channel, Mike Johnson and I had our show, the All-American Report, and we both felt like Vandy could win. We didn't think they would, but we thought they could, because at that point, no one was really talking about them.
Well, it's one of those things where I remember I hadn't watched Vandy all year prior to that game, and then before we did that show, I watched the Vandy Missouri game, and I was like, man, this quarterback can move and throw, and he's tough. I was like, there's probably going to be some wild touchdowns, maybe one early, and then they'll probably get a couple late, but we'll score 40. We'll beat them. They weren't all that great on defense, and then that game comes on, and I'm like, man, I don't even want to watch this. I'd rather. It was one of those games. We threw the pick six early, and you're thinking this is one of those games where after halftime we'll get it together, come out there and win, and it just
we just didn't. Yeah,
and just kept shooting ourselves in the foot over and over and over again, and again, that's how you let a team believe, and all of a sudden it becomes real. And then the most embarrassing parts, we got more Alabama fans in that stadium than Vandy fans.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that was a part of it too.
So it wasn't like the stadium was getting rolling and they were getting momentum. I don't know. Just hard to believe, really, still. But I hope Ryan. I hope Ryan lives up to the words he's saying on the podcast. Those words don't carry much weight unless you start showing everybody, you are bad.
Right. What do you remember as a team? I know that Nick Saban really didn't want you guys talking a lot to the media because of this kind of stuff, because he hated this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't get out of line and say anything crazy, that's for sure. I had one. I can't remember. I had a interview with Dennis Dodd one time, and it was a one-on-one interview where we were talking in in one of the offices, and we were kind of just going back and forth, having a conversation, And I don't know, I guess just young and dumb and hadn't had the experience yet to realize. But we talked about Ole Miss, and I said something along the effect of, I don't think they'd want to play us again.
Yeah.
And of course, we had already played Ole Miss, so it really didn't matter. But I remember coaches being like, I mean, come on, dude. And I'm like, whatever. Just don't let me do interviews. Just do me a favor. You don't want that out there. Just
Yeah, right.
take me out of the line of fire.
You know what, though? Coach Saban was infamously sensitive to the media, right? Which is ironic that he's part of it now. But, and that was kind of part of his, he didn't want to, he didn't want to give fuel for any of the other teams. He was constantly thinking about all of the other stuff that could go wrong. And it just doesn't feel like that's the way that they do it anymore there. I mean, with this new coaching staff, you get up there and talk and that's it. I mean, I'm sure they coach these guys up with what to say, but, I wonder, I'm just curious. I wonder what Kalen DeBoer really thinks of what Ryan Williams said. Does he have a problem with it or not? If he goes out there and performs, maybe it makes everybody better because you got to back it up. The funny thing is that the quarterback from Vandy, he shot right back, and now all of a sudden that Vanderbilt game is a game we're all going to have to pay attention to, right? I mean, look at who would have thought that October 4th, that Vandy, I mean, we better not look past Georgia because that Vanderbilt game.
Yeah, they're right after Georgia again, too.
They said they were acting like that the back end of our schedule isn't very good. I think it's a really tough schedule. I just do. I mean, look, that Florida State game is going to be harder than people want to think right now. Wisconsin's going to be a year under Fickle better. They're going to be good. Like the SEC's tough.
Wait, pull that schedule up again. They say the back end of the schedules.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you're playing Oklahoma and Auburn and LSU's in there. I mean, those are tough games. I don't care what anybody says. You can't judge season to season anymore. You got to look at what these teams have done to make themselves better. And Auburn and Oklahoma and LSU are probably all going to be better.
Yeah, I mean, and Auburn, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I know you look at it, it looks like one big bowl with a big screen, but it's a tough place to play. I mean, that place gets loud. I mean, those people, they may be 2-10, 2-11 when you see them, but the fans are going to be there. It's going to be packed out. It's going to be wild. I mean, they show up. They love Auburn. Georgia, I think the last two times Georgia's played there, they've snuck out of there with a win. You know what I mean, it's for some reason in rivalry games. I mean and we know. I mean, Alabama fans know what Jordan-Aire's like. Georgia knows what it's like. If they're up for a game, then they will show up. It's wild. Look, I think I am pretty shocked that Hugh Freeze hasn't elevated Auburn yet. I mean, I do think he's a really good coach. I think he's made a few mistakes with some of the things he said, but I think he's a really good coach, and with time they'll get there. But he kind of screwed up saying, what did he say a few weeks ago? I think it might have been Lance that asked him about his seat getting hot, and he said, "Well, we definitely got to win a bowl game or go to a bowl game." I mean, I think this year, if he's not in that 9-10 win, really 10-win scenario, Auburn's going to get impatient.
Well, John Cohen is their athletic director, and he's not going to sit around and accept that, or he won't be there long either. But, I think they'll be better. I think Oklahoma's going to be better with an offensive coordinator and quarterback that he brought himself. LSU's killed in the transfer portal. I don't see any real soft spots on the schedule other than, can Missouri maintain competitiveness? I don't know. South Carolina should have a pretty decent team, but it is South Carolina. I don't think Tennessee's going to be as good as they were last year. I don't think Vandy's going to be as good as they were last year. But when you look through the schedule, Florida State's a tough game. Wisconsin's a tough game. Georgia's a tough game. Vanderbilt, there's talk there. At Missouri,
when I look
that
at this,
could be tough.
When I look at this, I see Georgia, South Carolina, LSU being the three games where I think you got a lot of. I mean, those you gotta go at least 1 and 2 there. And I hate to say that, but at Georgia's going to be tough. At South Carolina is going to be really tough. We got LSU at home, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And then I just can't imagine 2 years in a row to Vandy. I mean, that would be Ryan Williams may have to hit the transfer portal.
Can you imagine if they lose to them again? I mean, they're going to have all the motivation they want. Last year it was Nick Saban saying that they don't have a home field advantage, and then this year, like they'll probably make shirts with like an ant, like a mighty ant.
What about Preston Dial at the tailgate show last year? He goes, "Look, man, the OC's my neighbor. I got to be polite, but we're probably going to win 55-0."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Try to be polite. That was a real swing and a miss.
The only bad part is that we're not playing in Nashville again. I'd love to go back to Live Oak and do another show there. That was pretty cool.
So are we going to play Vandy again next year in 2020?
No, I think they fall off the schedule.
Okay.
You get a whole new besides your 3 teams, you get, so I'm sure Texas will be on there, and who knows, man, Texas A&M. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. I guess I could look online, but they rotate everybody but Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn, the 3 rivalry games.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully we'll get Mississippi State back on. I love that game.
Oh, man. I could not stand playing at Mississippi State. I hated playing at that place. Those cowbells, man, that is the most annoying noise. I'll never forget how annoying that was. The worst part about it was that you could hear everything. It wasn't like real loud. It's like having a bee in your ear nonstop. I mean, that's what it sounded like. It just never ended. Which some people say about the war chant at Florida State, but
right.
I think the war chant sounds a lot better than cowbells.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, before we get out of here, condolences to the Russell family. Keelan Russell, obviously Bama's future quarterback. His twin sister, Kirsten. We don't know what happened, but she passed away at 18 years old in Tuscaloosa. Geez. I know heartbroken family. We're all heartbroken for the Russells as well. It's a tragedy that's going to affect them forever. They'll never get over it, but we can pray for them and just let them all know that we're really thinking about them in our hearts and our prayers right now. Just not all the details have come out. Said it's a non-criminal act, so some kind of an accident or something. But it's terrible. It just is terrible. She just graduated from high school. They both did. So to have his twin sister pass away in Tuscaloosa, just awful.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't imagine. Jeez. Oh, that's one thing that once you have kids, it hits you different hearing stories like that.
I know.
Golly.
I know. We'll be thinking. Obviously, we'll all be there to support him and his family. But I mean, geez, Pete, it's just hard to believe. And I saw that. I thought, this can't be right, But honestly, sadly, it is. So, guys, a couple things before we get out of here. First off, Roback looking good. Use our promo code Crimson20, and you get 20% off. Roback at Roback.com. So Father's Day's coming up. I'm like, hey, check out Roback. I've actually got that exact pullover right there. Won that in the Roback draft lottery that we had when they sent us a box of gear. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. We need another one of those.
We do. I that's one thing I will agree with you on here. We just got back from Pearl River Resort in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We had a great time. How good was that steak, man? We went to Philip M. Steakhouse and
I wore it out. And pretty cool meeting old Steve Azar too.
Yeah, Steve Azar. We're going to his golf tournament here coming up. That'll be fun.
Yep. As you know, I'm a big music fan, so the I don't have to be me till Monday. That's I can't wait to talk to him more about that next week.
Be on your playlist. See, when you said I'm a big, I thought for sure you were going to say golfer, but there's a curveball there, pal. Everybody needs to check out our show on the Floribama iHeart channel too. That's pretty funny. I love this bar because we have to honor Toby Keith every week on our show because we love him so much.
There's always a Toby Keith song. That's gonna happen.
We got Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. It's the Augusta you can play right there in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 and change from Birmingham. You don't have to go all the way out to Vegas to get that Vegas experience. They got everything you need there. Water park, pools. They've got the spa. They've got Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. Mentioned that a second ago. Philip M. Steakhouse, which we did, but also the Timeout Sports Lounge, the Belmont coming up on Saturday. I like betting those horses, so that's going to be fun to do. But you can do baseball, hockey, basketball, football when it happens, college and pro, and then sports from all over the world really these days now. So that's at the Timeout Sports Lounge in Golden Moon Casino. But we appreciate them for their help. Roll Tide to you, my friend, and Roll Tide to all you guys. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thank you for being here.
To Pearl River Resort.